Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Wednesday, February 8th. Just a wild ride expected in the weather over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Warm conditions today, in some areas near record warmth, and that'll transition to a colder pattern tonight following the passage of a cold frontal system and a snowstorm for much of the northeast U.S. late tonight and on Thursday. Especially areas from northern Maryland across Philadelphia, New York City, all the way up to Boston can expect some significant accumulation late tonight and tomorrow, and travel conditions will certainly be impacted in those areas. Some accumulated snow will extend all the way down into the D.C. metro region, but certainly less down there compared to Baltimore, Philadelphia, and New York City. We'll get into all the details in terms of the latest model run from the GFS computer forecast model over the next several minutes. But first, let's kind of summarize here up front what we expect over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Low pressure will form in this part of Virginia late this evening. It will intensify as it moves to a position off the New Jersey coastline by early tomorrow and continue to intensify as it pulls off of Cape Cod by early to mid-afternoon tomorrow. The heaviest snow from this particular system looks like it'll occur places like northern Maryland, up north and east across Philadelphia into New York City. Basically in this region right here, expect the heaviest snow over the next 24 to 36 hours or so. Again, accumulating snow will extend all the way down into the D.C. metro region. Probably on the order of a coating to a couple of inches from D.C. itself to points south and west, and then across the far northern and northeastern sections of the D.C. metro region, maybe 2 to 4 inch range late tonight, early tomorrow. Anywhere from 5 to 10 inches across southeastern Pennsylvania, interior sections of central New Jersey, and 6 to 10 inches, let's say, across the New York City metro region. A little bit less near the coastal part of New Jersey, maybe 3 to 6 in the central New Jersey coastal area, and 1 to 3 way down across Cape May, southern part of the New Jersey coastline. First of all, in terms of snow accumulations, what are some of the limiting factors for this particular storm? First of all, it's a fairly quick moving system. You see here, it'll move from late this evening over southwestern Virginia to off the Jersey coast by early tomorrow morning. A fairly quick moving system. Of course, we have warm ground conditions. Yesterday was just unbelievably warm in the D.C. metro region, for example, record breaking, and today will be warm up and down the I-95 corridor as well, and certainly that will inhibit accumulations, at least on the front end of this particular storm system. And if you follow me often here over the past few years, you know I always love to see a strong high to the north when we're dealing with any potential snowstorm. We do not have that for this particular storm. However, some of the factors favoring accumulation over the next 24 to 36 hours, we will have an intensifying low pressure area. This storm will intensify as it moves to the north and east. That does a couple of things. First of all, it increases upward motion in the atmosphere. That leads to some atmospheric cooling, and it will lead to some intense bands of precipitation over northern Maryland, southeastern Pennsylvania, and across New York City, especially around rush hour tomorrow morning. There could be some significant banding where there could even be some isolated thunder snow events going on here. And to kind of compensate for the no high to the north, we will have a fresh cold air mass pushing into the I-95 corridor over the next 12 hours or so. The cold frontal system right now lies across northwestern Pennsylvania. That'll come through during the midday, early afternoon hours in the I-95 corridor, and it'll start to turn colder this evening, right around the arrival of the precipitation. So it won't take much to change from rain to a wintry mix, and then finally towards morning to a snow in much of the I-95 corridor. Here's some of the storm characteristics. Again, most of this taking place from northern Maryland across Philadelphia, New York City, all the way up to Boston. Less so in the immediate D.C. region. First of all, it looks like it'll be a heavy wet snow. It'll cling to the trees and bushes, especially considering the fact that it should rain initially. That'll make it very easy for the snowflakes to cling onto the branches of bushes and trees, and that raises the prospects for some power outages. The weight could just be too much north of the Mason-Dixon line, for example, during the morning hours tomorrow, midday hours. Heavy wet snow clinging to the trees is not a good combination, so we'll have to watch out for that. It's a serious cause of concern, potential power outages across southeastern Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York State, for example. This will be a transition type of storm from rain to a period of sleet and then finally to snow. That sleet could last for an hour or two, and that's going to be crucial in terms of accumulation amounts. If the period of sleet lasts a little bit longer than that, that'll obviously cut down on accumulations across southeastern Pennsylvania, New York City, for example. Again, with such upward motion in the atmosphere associated with an intensifying low pressure system, there can be banding effects, and that'll produce some wide variations in snow rates going across the southeastern part of Pennsylvania, for example, and some wide variations in snow accumulation. So my range right now is kind of on the broad side here. Again, maybe 5 to 10 inches across southeastern Pennsylvania, interior central New Jersey, and 6 to 10 inches across the New York City region due to that banding that should develop with this particular storm. Finally, the brunt of the storm looks like it'll be tomorrow morning in Philadelphia, New York City, maybe a 4 to 6 hour period of heavy, wet snow. And again, with all that snow clinging to the trees and bushes, it'll be a very pretty scene, all white all over the place, but again, a potential cause of concern for the possibility of some downed limbs, which could lead to some power outages in places north of the Mason-Dixon line. Well, before we get to last night's 0Z GFS model run, let's take a look at the latest surface pressure pattern. The thing to watch today will be the advancement of the colder air. Right now, that frontal system lies cutting across the central or western part of Pennsylvania, right in this region right here. It will not be a drastic change when that front comes through, but it'll be a subtle change with winds coming out of the northwest at pretty slow speeds during the midday and afternoon hours. Nonetheless, it'll cut off the heating, and it'll reverse the trend in temperatures during the middle and latter part of the afternoon. And once the sun goes down, it'll certainly be noticeable that the colder air will be advancing from the northwest to the southeast. So again, that's the thing to focus in on over the next several hours, the advancement of that colder air as this cold frontal system drives to the south and east. Well, let's first take a look at the 500 millibar level. We've done this at the last couple of morning video discussions. All important, what goes on here in the middle part of the atmosphere. This is the forecast map, again, from last night's 0Z GFS model run for this evening, Wednesday evening. And here is the upper level energy that will be the catalyst to set off the development of low pressure. First is to be seen across southwestern Virginia in this region right here. And we'll see now, let's jump ahead 12 hours to early tomorrow morning. We'll see this is deepening. It's dropping to the south and east, taking on what we call a negatively tilted axis, and that will lead to the intensification of the low pressure system as it moves from Virginia to off the New Jersey coastline and ultimately to off the eastern New England coastline. And here we go, the forecast map for tomorrow morning, Thursday morning. Decent, very decent upper level wave of energy here. Low pressure by this time will be sitting off the New Jersey coastline. Again, the brunt of the storm appears to be tomorrow morning for places like Philadelphia, New York City, where there can be some intense banding, perhaps up to 1.5 to 2 inch rates of snow accumulation in an hour, maybe even some isolated thunder snow, again, primarily north of the Mason-Dixon line here. And all of this as this upper level feature takes on kind of a negatively tilted axis here. Basically, it is oriented from northwest to southeast, and that leads to intense upward motion in the area of the low pressure system. And again, that will in turn result in mesoscale banding, small scale banding, where some areas will get really dumped on, but just nearby may not be snowing as hard, and that ultimately could lead to a wide variation in snow accumulations. For example, maybe 4 or 5 inches as a result in Philadelphia, but up to 8, 9, even 10 inches in places like Bucks County tomorrow morning into the midday hours. Finally, here's the forecast map at 500 millibars for tomorrow evening. Again, a negatively tilted axis here, intensification continuing. The winds will gradually intensify out of the north to northeast during the day, and that will not help in terms of the branches on the trees. Could see some gusts up to 30 miles per hour or so by late afternoon across southeastern Pennsylvania and New York City. And again, the threat exists for some power outages due to the heavy, wet snow and the fact that it'll start off with rain, which will wet all the branches, and that will allow the snow to cling quite nicely. It'll be a beautiful scene when you wake up tomorrow morning with white all over the place on the trees and bushes, and rapidly accumulating on the ground and snowing heavily at the time tomorrow morning, but that raises the possibility of some power outages. Well, let's now quickly walk through the surface forecast maps from last night's Zero-Z GFS model run. We'll go in 6-hour increments, starting with early this afternoon. That cold frontal system by this time will be right along the East Coast. Colder air will be filtering in. Again, it will not be a blast of cold air. It will be a slow transition during the latter part of the afternoon into the early evening. A lot of snow already forming here over the Ohio Valley by the early afternoon hours. Here's the forecast map for 7 p.m. this evening. Now, moisture really starting to gather itself over the Ohio Valley. Colder air filtering in here. Again, it will not be a drastic drop in temperatures. That cold frontal system at the surface by this time is well south and east of the I-95 corridor. But again, the colder air will slowly transition here, and precipitation already really gathering itself over the Ohio Valley by about 7 p.m. this evening. Here's the forecast map for 06Z, which is 1 a.m., just after midnight here. And by this time, low pressure over central Virginia here. And again, it will be intensifying as it moves to the north and east. Lots of precipitation now depicted here by the GFS model, shown in blue. Again, there will be some mesoscale bands with some real heavy precipitation rates over a given hour or two. Again, the colder air slowly transitioning. Expect the precipitation to start in the D.C., Philadelphia region during the late part of the evening, give or take a few hours around midnight across New York City. And again, it should start as rain or perhaps a wintry mix in areas north of the Mason-Dixon line, and then change over to snow. Maybe a period of sleep before the changeover to snow, but by daybreak it should be all snow across places northern Maryland, southeastern Pennsylvania, and the New York City metro region. Again, the brunt of the storm looks like it'll be tomorrow morning in areas around Philadelphia, Princeton, New Jersey, Trenton, New Jersey, New York City metropolitan region, and also extending all the way down into northern Maryland, northeastern Maryland. Now, by tomorrow morning, that low has moved from Virginia to off the New Jersey coastline. The central pressure has dropped a few millibars again, an intensifying low, a fairly quick moving system here. And this is the time early tomorrow morning, right around commute time. It could be snowing like heck across southeastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey into southern part of New York. And again, that could extend all the way down into the northern, northeastern part of Maryland. This will be the brunt of the storm here, perhaps for a 4 to 6 hour period. May even include some isolated thunder snow situations here tomorrow morning. Let's now jump ahead another 6 hours. And here we go. By early tomorrow afternoon, about 1 p.m., that low is scooting fairly quickly off to the north and east, continuing to intensify. 992 millibars here, according to the GFS model run. By this time, already off the coast of Massachusetts here. Still some snow showers certainly can linger across New Jersey and New York City, even into southeastern Pennsylvania and northeastern Maryland during the afternoon hours. The steadiest, heaviest Snow should be out of the Philadelphia region by the midday or early afternoon. Maybe mid-afternoon to late afternoon will be the final hours of the steadiest, heaviest snow across New York City. Again, there can be some snow shower activity following the storm, and the winds will continue to remain strong late in the day and tomorrow night. And temperatures tomorrow night should drop into the teens in most areas in the I-95 corridor. So a lot of activity over the next 24 to 36 hours or so, including some significant snow accumulations from northern Maryland across southeastern Pennsylvania, New York City, all the way up to Boston, and even some accumulating snow all the way down into the immediate D.C. metro region. Stay tuned to VencoreWeather.com for possible updates later today. That's it for now. I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.